you could bet. There used to be these prediction markets. I mean, there still are today. I think there's a love-hate relationship. People would like to vote on who's going to win the Super Bowl and, well, which politician will win this, and they'll get it started, and then the regulators will shut them down. And so Trade Sports was like an online gambling site, and then they had online poker sites, and they were really big. What happened, by the way, is I think like the Indian casinos got together, gave a lot of money to the Southern Baptist Ministry that gave a lot of money to Jack Abramoff, and he went to lobby a bunch of politicians in D.C. to convince them that gambling is an abomination in the eyes of God. And the remedy was, of course, to outlaw the online poker sites and allow the gambling in the Indian reservations in Vegas to continue. But they basically they stopped banks from allowing you to wire money into Trade Sports and online gambling sites. And first they did that. And then they actually pulled the CEOs of those companies off their flights while passing through Dulles Airport and arrested them. And that shut that business down. So much, we all like to play poker. It was kind of fun and bet on who's going to win the next election or whether it's going to rain on Groundhog Day. It seemed fun, but it became non-compliant and it just went away. So at some point, I probably read some random thing about Bitcoin and, it was being used for Silk Road or used for whatever. And I said, well, it looks like it's going to go the way of online gambling. Some regulator will probably shut it down. And it probably got like 4 likes, and okay, here's oblivious. When you tweet something and nobody notices and you don't notice that nobody noticed, right? There's a lot of Twitter influencers like that. Even today, people tweet some random thing and like, they don't notice that nobody noticed or cared.
I'm feeling called out here.
So I did that for a long time, and that was one of my tweets. Bottom line with Bitcoin is I didn't need it. I didn't need it. It wasn't a problem. I was I had a solution. My solution to every world problem was, mobile, Amazon, Apple Music, Apple Photos, mobile apps, Amazon. Apple's going to ship a product to 1 billion people overnight for a nickel and change the world. And you ought to buy Apple stock. And I mean, that's my solution. Buy Apple stock, buy Amazon stock, buy whatever. And it works fine. And that's the mainstream. The mainstream big tech or the mainstream investor, if they were successful in that decade from 2010 to 2020, they entered in the big tech trade. Like 90% of the gains in the S&P were like 5 companies. And if and by the way, the tech, the revolutionary was going on to Wall Street and saying you should buy Amazon, or going to Wall Street and say you should buy Apple, and the mainstream investors would say, well, if Apple stock doubles, we should just sell it and rebalance and we'll buy a bunch of other computer companies so you don't have too much risk. And they're like, well, if Amazon stock doubles, we should just sell it and buy some other retailers, Toys R Us, whatever, something, not too much risk. Okay. And my view at that time, and it's still my view today, is like the problem with diversification is selling the winner to buy the losers. One company in the retail space, Amazon, wins. The second company, Walmart, kind of treads water, and 15,000 companies lose. They all lose. And with Apple, one company wins. They get 150% of the profit in the industry. Every other company loses half as much as Apple makes, or a third as much as Apple makes, something to compete. And there are no winners, right? There is just one winner. There is Apple. And the reason you don't want to sell the winner to buy the losers, or the reason you don't want to diversify or portfolio balance, is because the success of the one thing eliminates the need for all the other things. And when that one thing is a digital network and it's a digital monopoly, when the one thing is a YouTube or the one thing is an Apple or an iOS or whatever, the problem is they can ship a piece of software that's crappy, like Apple TV, Apple Music. They can ship anything that's mediocre average, but they can ship it to 300 million people with a marketing cost of $1. And they could ship it to 1 billion people over the weekend for the cost of the electricity, like a nickel. And everybody else has to, like Peloton's got to manufacture a bunch of treadmills and put them in inventory. And, they got to deal with real world issues. It's nearly impossible to beat the digital monopolies. So anyway, that my view was find the digital monopoly and ride the wave. The mobile wave was digital transformation of music and maps and relationships and communications and entertainment and video and television and books. And, each of those companies made about $1 trillion doing that, fine. I didn't really see Bitcoin as a solution to my problem. If I had all my assets in Argentina, all of them, if I was a rancher in Zimbabwe, if I was a business person in Syria or Lebanon or whatever, I would have been more sensitive, because when more than 50% of your net worth is at risk, if I tell you you're about to lose half of everything or all of everything in the next 12 months, or you watch it happen, all of a sudden you get religion. I had my feathers singed. I had a taste of it. I lost $1 million in a bank in Brazil when the head of the bank just stole the money. I never got it back. Well, so I saw that counterparty risk, rug pull, but it was a conventional. And then I lost $1 million in Argentina, when the Argentine peso was 1 peso to the dollar. I literally remember when the peso was 1 peso to the dollar.